to produce at an economy of scale made it affordable for everyone. And another example is the thorium nuclear reactor. The thorium nuclear reactor was originally developed as a concept at Oak Ridge Lab in United States. And again, they killed it because they didn't want that. Didn't want to go that route. And later, when a NASA scientist posted the whole design on the internet, China took a look at it. So like, okay, maybe this could work. Let's work on it. So China spent 10 years tinkering around it, and they got it working. And so so it doesn't matter if you have innovation if you cannot apply it. You cannot make it into practical application. And China is very good at turning every innovation into affordable product. And that they have done it with everything, from solars to EVs. This is why there will be, in the coming years, there will be only one area where U.S. will continue to outproduce China, and you'll be in the copium production. The copium and opium production will continue to go through the roof in the U.S. as China continue to rise and not be contained.
I was reading an article a few days ago. They were saying that China added a forest to its desert, roughly the size of Texas, over the last 20 years. I was thrown back because you don't hear that in the West. They turned desert into forest land in less than a decade or so. So this shows you something. And another thing I want to touch on before I forget is that how can the United States outcompete China at this moment when they are now outsourcing their shipbuilding to South Korea?
U.S. military industrial complex already gave up on industrializing United States, because now they have recently there's an article from War on the Rocks. They're arguing, okay, right now, because the U.S. naval shipyards is limited, we have limited capacity, so it actually makes sense to outsource more commercial shipping to Korea and Japan, so we can reserve all our shipbuilding capability in the United States to produce warships to compete with China, which is pretty preposterous. The reason China is able to produce a lot of warships is because they build commercial ships. They come to produce 55% of the world's shipping fleet. And that's how they gain the knowledge and the know-how that can apply to build naval ships. And this is the kind of thinking that led to U.S. shipyard atrophy to the point it is today. U.S. used to have the world's largest shipbuilding capability around World War II. That's how U.S. won, because U.S. could outproduce everybody, particularly Empire of Japan. But after around 1960s, 70s, that's when the Wall Street guys, they did their numbers. They're like, hey, commercial shipping, let's outsource to Korea and Japan. and then what they have is like, okay, we'll just reserve the shipyard in U.S. for building for Pentagon. And so it was a double whammy, because on one hand, they're losing a lot of jobs, a lot of knowledge of building ships, because as these shipyard gets moved overseas to Japan and Korea. And on the other hand, the ones that's remaining, because they have guaranteed government contract to produce for Pentagon, they have less incentive to innovate, to apply latest technology, because they got guaranteed government money. So this is how U.S. shipbuilding got left behind. And this is why today Pentagon is trying to skirt there was actually a legislation from U.S. Congress that says U.S. should not build warships in foreign countries. So now they're skirting that legislation by saying, let's retrofit our warship in Korea and Japan, because they can do it much cheaper. They can do it at a quarter of the cost. Well, the reason they could do it at a quarter of the cost, because they have been on the recipient side of all this offsource of shipbuilding capability from the United States for the last 40 years, 40, 50 years, and they have built economy of scale. And whereas the U.S. were happily deindustrializing itself, at the behest of Wall Street, and right now, because it does not have lacks the economy of scale, that's why everything is done at much more higher costs. And this is and their solution is, let's outsource even more to South Korea and Japan. Let's even put our warship to Korea and Japan to have them retrofitted, because right now their argument is that our time and money is limited right now. We have a small time window to compete with China. We can't be bothered to reindustrialize United States to rebuild the industrial base. We need to reach parity with Chinese Navy. So the way we do it is we loop in the naval building capability of Korea and Japan. So essentially, the Pentagon, the U.S. military-industrial complex, gave up on the U.S. own manufacturing capability. So they're even outsourcing the warship to Korea and Japan. And yeah, this is the direction of the U.S. have been going for the last 40 years, and this is no sign of stopping. And the Trump tariff, which is supposed to bring back to industrialization back to U.S., that ain't happening. Sorry. Because to do that, you need human capital. You need people who know what they're doing, who are trained. What happened is, back in the 1970s, when U.S. would still have all these industries, you have all these people with knowledge and know-how. Now, 40 years later, those people have retired. You have failed to train a whole new generation of people who will know how to do things when all these industry will get offshore to overseas. And now you think tariff will work to protect your domestic industry if you have domestic industry. The problem is U.S. have to build everything from scratch now, and to do that, you need to import Chinese machine tools, and you need to spend 10 years to train people. And so this is a gargantuan effort. It will spend decades. That's not what U.S. government is designed to do, folks. U.S. government is not designed to do industrial policy the way Chinese government can do. Chinese government is structured to do industrial policy. U.S. government is structured to funnel money to the top 1%. Each government is very good at its own job, what it's designed to do. But when U.S. try to copy China now in industrial policy, it's doing it in a half-ass way. So I don't put too much stock in that. If even Pentagon is giving up on reindustrialization of America, what can you say?
Carl, man, you hit it out the park again, my brother. We got to do this again very, very soon. I thank you for joining me on the most powerful platform, man. I really, really appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Rishi. Anytime.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later. I'll send you the video, my friend.
Bye-bye.
All right. Everybody, listen. The like button. It doesn't cost you anything. Even if you don't agree with everything we're saying, like and subscribe. Share the video. We're adults here. See, the problem with everybody is that if you don't agree with somebody, you get in your feelings, right? But as an adult, let us be agreeable to disagree. We don't have to act like savages because we don't agree 100%. All right? So what I'm saying to you all this, and I have to say this in closing every time I go up there. Please do right by others. Not because there's some material gain to be had or because there's some accolades behind it. Do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember that God Almighty is watching you. As my late, great, and magnificent mother would always say, God sits high, meaning on the throne of power, but he looks low at his creation. And know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth. but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that the true and living God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, remember this, to stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life, and I hope I'm representing you, mom. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Deuces, we're out of here. Peace.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught